Now, there is a list of everyday things that still shock me living here in Australia. I'm a Brit that's been living in Australia for about 2.5 years, and at first there were definitely a lot of things which surprised me, but there is actually a list of things which still every day surprise me about Australia. And we're going to go into that in today's video. So the first thing that shocks me still every day living in Australia is the fact there is literally wildlife everywhere, and literally the craziest wildlife as well. Coming from the UK, it's not really the case. You don't really hear or see much wildlife, but being in Australia, some of the sounds that the birds make every single morning is just like, what even is that? And just walking to like the shops, you'll just see the craziest creatures. Like recently I saw a python at the side of the road the other day. I was on a hike, I saw like a giant lizard thing, whatever, some monitor lizard or something. The birds are crazy, there's lizards everywhere, like the biggest insects as well. Like this is more specific to where I'm living right now in northern Queensland, where there is way more of these creatures compared to in the south, but even then, compared to being in the UK, you don't really hear or see too much wildlife, to be honest, unless you go right out to like the forests. Being in Australia, it's literally part of everyday life to hear like the maddest creatures and just see like crazy bugs. Like, oh, that was another thing. We saw like giant green tree frogs just on our washing in the garden the other day. That's something you definitely wouldn't get in the UK, and living in Australia still, every day it does like shock me that crazy wildlife is on our doorstep. There's literally signs at a river, which is about a 10-minute walk from our house, saying beware of crocodiles as well. So yeah, it's a pretty crazy place. Point number 2 that still shocks me is thinking about how massive the country is. Honestly, it's no secret that Australia is way bigger than the UK, but even to this day, I just cannot get my head around how big Australia is. I honestly think when I go back to the UK, a 4 or 5 hour drive is gonna feel like a little trip down the road. When I've worked in jobs in Australia, I'll have customers that will drive in for like 3-4 hours, and to them it's just like a little trip. It's just like their local store, because they live in the middle of nowhere. If you're driving for 3 or 4 hours in the UK, you're gonna be driving like more than half the country, compared to in Australia, where 2 hours to some people is a pretty short drive. People will just drive 2 hours to go to a shop. In the UK, you could drive between multiple cities in that time. And I also cannot believe how empty it is. When I book transport and flights and stuff, that's when it really stands out. Recently, we booked our flights from Cairns across to Perth. It's a 5-hour flight, and that entire flight, we won't even fly over any people. We're flying over land the whole way. It's not like it's sea or anything, but the middle of Australia is so empty, and that 5-hour flight, we won't even go over anyone. I've always known how empty Australia is, but it's not till you live here and do certain trips, you know, like coaches, you realise how massive it is. Point number 3 is working in Australia sometimes just feels weird because of the environment that you're in. Back in the UK, I'd always lived in like built up towns near the city. It felt like the sort of place you'd go to work. The fact that in Australia, I'll literally go past like rainforests and incredible beaches and all this crazy stuff, literally on my way to work. It almost reminds you like, hang on, we're just here on this planet and we're not even like what are we doing going to work when we should be just living in nature? It's kind of weird. It's a weird feeling when your journey to work consists of incredible scenery, especially living in Cairns like it is now. It's so weird to go into work for some reason, compared to in the UK where it wouldn't be the case. I'd live in a town and it would be the sort of place you'd expect to go to work. The fact that I can step out of my workplace and look up at these like rainforest mountains literally feels so weird working somewhere like that. But Aussies is probably quite normal. To be from the UK, it still shocks me every day, and like I find it weird working somewhere that's like that. It's like, what am I doing going to work when all that amazing nature is on your doorstep? The next point is how strong the sun honestly is. This still shocks me every day, because one day you forget to wear your SPF, you end up so burnt. Honestly, I feel like this was something that I would get used to and never forget, but sometimes I do just forget to wear sun cream, like the other day, and I ended up getting pretty burnt. And that's one thing with Australia that still shocks me to this day, is how strong the sun honestly is compared to the UK. And yeah, you are definitely reminded of it when you forget, because I've been pretty burnt on a few occasions here in Australia. Still definitely shocks me, even though I've been here 2.5 years. And the last point is how much of a holiday it still feels like. Now, it's nothing compared to that initial feeling when you move to Australia, where it literally feels like a constant holiday. But even now, like I said, the amazing scenery and being able to do things on your days off, which you definitely wouldn't do back in the UK, definitely makes it still feel like a constant holiday. The fact I went to Green Island the other weekend, that was literally like a day off from work. I've done whale watching on my days off, snorkeling, chilled on amazing beaches, hiking, all this kind of stuff, which like is mad that it's just your days off. Stargazing, sandboarding, like the fact that all this is your days off in Australia, still to this day does feel amazing, and it does feel like a constant holiday. Even 2.5 years in, it's definitely not that same feeling, as I've mentioned, as that initial couple of months in Australia, obviously not, but still to this day, it does definitely feel like a big holiday. And I think I'll miss that when I go back to the UK. So yeah, they are 6 everyday things that still shock me in Australia despite being here 2.5 years. I've definitely got used to most things in Australia, very normalized to a lot of things, and these things definitely shocked me more at first. But yeah, even 2.5 years in, these things day to day still do shock me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on this one. Any Brits in Australia, you might be able to relate to some of these points. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon with another video.